Good day, everyone. We are Modula and Podrick.
Let's dig into what is going on in tech and science news.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that's pretty wild. It's about a small, almost toy-like fighter jet that delivered a shock that echoed through the entire military-industrial complex. What we have here is a classic tale of two totally different ways of thinking about air combat. On one side, you've got this pragmatic, super smart design. And on the other, well, that's all about overwhelming, crush you with technology dominance. It's the difference between building the smartest jet and building the most advanced one, where, money is basically no object. So, you gotta picture this. Saab, the company that made those kind of quirky cars, rolls out this new fighter, the Gripen. And the military big shots around the world, they just kind of laughed. They looked at it and saw this dinky little thing, a budget fighter for a budget air force. A cute little project from a neutral country that hasn't fought a war in, 200 years. Oh boy, were they about to be proven wrong. So the big question is, how did this toy manage to bite back and absolutely humiliate the world's most advanced fighter? All right, let's get into it because the answer is fascinating. It's rooted in a uniquely Swedish way of thinking, something forged in the incredible pressure cooker of the Cold War. All right, first things first. To really get the Gripen, you have to get Sweden. You have to understand the intense strategic environment it was born into. Seriously, Sweden's whole idea of national defense is baked into every single rivet, every line of code on this plane. So, back in the Cold War, Sweden was playing a different game. They were strictly neutral. No NATO, no Warsaw Pact. That meant they had to go it alone. They had to be totally self-sufficient, ready to defend their own borders with their own tech. And listen, the goal wasn't some fantasy of defeating the entire Soviet army. No way. The idea was to make an invasion so unbelievably costly, so bloody, that the other guy would just look at the price tag and say, nah, not worth it. And the Gripen didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was absolutely not a fluke. This plane was the culmination of a long, brilliant history of Swedish fighter design. I mean, look at this. You have the Draken, with its wild double delta wing. Then the Viggen, which was a pioneer in using canards, those little wings up front for amazing agility. Sweden has always been innovating. And because they didn't have the insane budgets of the US or the Soviets, they had to be smart. They had to get it right the first time, every single time. So just think about these requirements for a second. They literally shaped the entire project. Imagine this. Your jet has to be rearmed and refueled by a handful of conscripts, teenagers basically, on a random stretch of highway in 10 minutes. You just can't afford to make it complicated. That's why the Gripen had to be the smartest jet, not the biggest or the most expensive. Its design was it was forged by the brutal reality of what it would take to survive. And this is where it all comes together. Those unique needs, that survival-driven mindset, led to a design philosophy that was the polar opposite of what the Americans were doing. Let's break down some of the numbers, and you'll see what I mean. First up, takeoff distance. The Gripen can get airborne from a tiny strip of highway just 400 meters long. That's less than a quarter of a mile. The whole idea was that these jets could scatter all over the country, hiding and operating from secret road bases, even if there was snow on the ground. Incredible. And get this, the turnaround time? A Gripen kitted out for an air-to-air fight can land, get gas, get new missiles, and be serviced by just 5 young conscripts and 1 technician and be wheels up again in 10 minutes. 10 minutes flat. That is just an insane level of combat readiness. Then there's the cost. We're talking just $4,700 per flight hour. That is one of the lowest rates in the entire world for a modern fighter. We're talking nearly half the cost of some of the most efficient F-16s. Affordability wasn't an afterthought. It was literally baked into its DNA from day one. So you really start to see the difference in philosophy, right? The F-35 is all about ending the fight before it even begins. See the enemy from 50 miles out, shoot, and go home without them ever knowing you were there. The Gripen? Its job is to survive that first invisible punch, to blind the enemy with electronic warfare, and then drag them into a messy, close-range knife fight in a phone booth and win. Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this scrappy design philosophy actually hold up when the gloves come off? Well, the moment of truth didn't come in a real war, thank goodness. It came in the Nevada desert, during one of the most high-stakes, realistic combat exercises in the world, Red Flag. And the stage was set perfectly. You have the billion-dollar baby, the F-35, versus the budget fighter from the land of IKEA.
You can bet the American pilots probably saw this as a light sparring match. But for the Swedes, this was everything. This was their chance to prove that their whole way of thinking wasn't just a compromise. It was a real tactical advantage.
But the Swedes weren't there to play by the F-35's rules. They had a brilliant plan. Instead of trying to hide from the stealth fighter, they did the opposite. They used their advanced electronic warfare gear as an offensive weapon, a digital smokescreen to blind the F-35's super-advanced sensors. Then, they hugged the terrain, flying low and fast, slipping inside the F-35's long-range bubble to force a merge. That's a close-quarters dogfight, the one place a big, heavy jet like the F-35 really doesn't want to be. And the result? Well, the so-called toy fighter didn't just hang in there. It won. Over and over again, across multiple mock battles, the little Gripen outmaneuvered, outthought, and scored kills on the F-35. The reports from that exercise sent absolute shockwaves through the military aviation world. The invincible jet, the most expensive weapon in history, had just been taken to school by the sensible Swede. The toy had bitten back, and it bit back hard. And let me be clear, this wasn't some lucky shot. It was proof of concept. And today, the Gripen story is nowhere near finished. In fact, you could say this little jet from the north is having a bit of a renaissance.
Just look at the latest version, the Gripen E/F. This thing is an absolute beast. Yeah, it's got a more powerful engine, more weapons, 10 hardpoints now, but the real magic is what's on the inside. It has this incredible new radar that can literally swivel its field of view, plus electronic warfare systems designed specifically to hunt stealth fighters. And maybe the smartest part? Its software is decoupled from the hardware, which is a fancy way of saying you can upgrade it super easily and cheaply. That's a game changer for keeping it on the cutting edge for years and years.
And you know what? The rest of the world has definitely taken notice. From Brazil in South America to the Czech Republic in Europe, countries that need a seriously capable but also affordable Air Force are choosing the Gripen. It just hits that sweet spot of performance and pragmatism that almost no other fighter can touch. When you look at the whole story, the Gripen is just this fantastic counter-argument to the idea that more is always better. It proves that smarts, efficiency, and a crystal-clear sense of purpose can actually beat sheer brute force spending. And it leaves us with a really important question as we think about the future of air combat.